For many women around the world, the devastating loss of a partner is magnified by a long-term fight for their basic rights and dignity, despite the fact that there are more than 258 million widows around the world. Widows have historically been left unseen, unsupported, and unmeasured in many societies. Today, as armed conflicts, displacement and migration, as well as the COVID-19 pandemic, leaves tens of thousands of women newly widowed and many others whose partners are missing or disappeared, the unique experiences and needs of widows has to be brought to the fore, with their voices leading the way. Experience from the past shows that widows are often denied inheritance rights, having their property grabbed after the death of a partner, and can face extreme stigma and discrimination as perceived carriers of a disease. Worldwide, women are much less likely to have access to old age pensions than men, so the death of a spouse can lead to destitution for older women. In the context of lockdowns and economic closures, widows may not have access to bank accounts and pensions to pay for healthcare if they too become ill, or to support themselves and their children, with lone mother families and single older women already especially vulnerable to poverty. And this is an area that also needs urgent attention. On International Widows' Day, it advocates revisit some of these issues affecting widows around the world and what must be done to safeguard and advance their rights. To discuss this, we are being joined on the program by a social entrepreneur, Emma Nsa Adegoke, who is the founder of the Emma Nsa Adegoke Foundation, which looks into the plight of widows. A pleasure having you with us on the program.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Now, the plight of widows is a serious one around the world. And here in Nigeria, how much help are widows getting, especially in the area of welfare?
Unfortunately, not very much help from government. As you well know, the issue of poverty traverses all of the society, but the widow is at the lowest rung of the poor, in Nigeria especially. And government doesn't really have any targeted policy for these, section of persons. Only individuals or private organizations have been trying, our best to intervene in the lives of these women. So if we're looking at it from a public point of view, there isn't much intervention, unfortunately.
Now, tell us a bit about what your foundation is doing in this regard to help the plight of widows.
Well, one of the things our foundation is doing is, first of all, to ensure that we identify them, especially those in the rural areas. And after we identify them, we also try to intervene on several fronts. First of all, is training them for certain skills acquisition, such as soap making, little things, catering that they can do to survive. And then, of course, the third thing we do is to advocate for their rights. We partner with law firms that will be able to prosecute or bring to the attention of law enforcement agencies all the sort of dehumanization that they've gone through. Cross River State is peculiar now in the sense that we do have a law which guarantees female persons to inherit property after the death of their husbands. That same law, signed in 2007 by His Excellency Donald Duke, also authorizes these women to not just only inherit the properties of their husbands when they die, but also to ensure that they don't suffer any form of traditional dehumanization rights. So we have taken that to all the local governments in Cross River State. We've seen the Royal Majesties, the paramount rulers, and we've said to them, this law does exist. We cannot afford for you to treat these women anyhow. And so it's yielding a lot of fruit. We started that advocacy in December, and we're glad to know that a lot of the paramount rulers are on board, and we're seeing how it's going to unfold.
Now, beyond Cross River State, is your foundation reaching out to like-minded organizations like yours so that everything that you are doing in Cross River State and the initiatives that you're putting forward can be replicated across the board, from Lagos to Kaduna and other states across the country?
Yes, one of the things we are planning to do, especially towards the second part of this year, is to partner with like-minded NGOs in Lagos and in the North. You know, when you look at the North, for example, the issues of widowhood are shrouded in religion. So you can't do so much because religion plays a very important part of their lives. But for Lagos and the southern states, the southern eastern states, the south states, we're looking to do a lot of partnerships because we do know that there are foundations that are actually interested, particularly in widows and persons living with disabilities. So that is the focus for our next 6 months to 12 months. Making sure we're not just partnering locally. You know, you have to start from your Jerusalem. You don't just jump out, you know. So we're also glad that the National Assembly, at least the House of Rep, began to look into a law towards the end of, I think, the last quarter or so, or the last year. And they were actually looking at some of these widowhood practices, and we're hoping that it will be passed into law so that it will be of national application.
Mrs. Imansa Adegoke, pleasure sharing your thoughts with us on the program.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a wonderful day.
You too.